Hi guys, it's Faye and welcome back to the channel. So as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be talking about my January reading and my favourite book. I'm going to do like a little review. I'm going to do a short non-spoiler review and then I'm going to deep dive a bit more into it. So if it's a book that you guys want to read, then I will let you know when the spoilers come in so it's not ruined. So in January I got through 5 books, which I was pretty proud of because I'm not a quick reader. Two of them were audiobooks, which I listen to whilst I'm doing my day job, and then the other 3 were physical books. If you want to know what they are, down below in the description there's a link to my Instagram. I posted a wrap up there, but we're going to talk about my favourite, which is Witch Sign. And can we just appreciate this cover? So pretty, so I love it. So I brought Witch Sign because I actually bought the second book in the trilogy first, which is called Stormtide, and I bought it because the cover was really pretty. That was literally, I was like, ooh, this is pretty. And then I bought it and I was like, this is the second book in the series. And I got the first one, Witch Sign. So, turns out, should judge a book by its cover. Because I love this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It is a fantasy. It's classed, so I got it from Waterstones, which I believe is like the British version of Barnes and Nobles. Got it from Waterstones and they had it classed as YA/teen fantasy adventure. So I am not sure that I agree with the fact that it's in the teen or YA section personally. I think it's because one of the main characters is only 16. That's it, I'd imagine. The actual story itself is quite, I wouldn't say dark, but it touches on some harsh subjects, though done in a fantasy world, not so harsh, I guess. Anyway, so the plot is that it's a Norse-based mythology. So we've got the goddesses of Froya and Freya. Apologies immediately if I'm saying them wrong. I should have probably looked at translating them and make sure I'm pronouncing them right. But I'm British and we're ignorant, so I didn't. I did check some of the pronunciations whilst I was reading the book, and I was saying them very, very wrong, and the pronunciations didn't stick with me, so I'm very sorry for my ignorance. I did try. Anyway, the plot follows 2 siblings, Steiner, and it's pronounced Shelrun, but spelt with a K-J. So I called her Kelrun for the whole of the book, but it's pronounced Shelrun apparently. So the 2 siblings, they live with their father, and basically the premise is this emperor has taken over Nordblast, which is like the continent, I guess, he's one of those tyrannical rulers who basically hates everything good. He wants power, so they say that magic originated from dragons, and the dragons bestowed the magic on to the people, which then was dubbed witch sign. So the emperor had killed all the dragons in his takeover, and there's a war going on in the south because they don't want to give in to the empire. But where we are in the book, in Nordvlas, they are part of the empire but also not. They're part of the Scorched Republics, which I'm not 100% sure on the politics of it, but they're not classed as being part of the empire. Anyway, so basically the chapters alternate between points of view of Steiner and Shelrun, and yeah, magic, evil emperor, it's right up my street. I would definitely recommend this book. I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, I am now giving you a 5-second warning that I am going to talk more with spoilers about the book. So okay, so if you don't want to hear spoilers, you should have clicked off by now. Here we go. So the book starts with Steiner and Shelrun, sorry, I'm trying, in Cinderfell, which is where they live with their dad. Steiner is training to be a blacksmith with his dad, and Shelrun is 16, so she's just finishing school. Now, on a yearly basis, there's a vigilation. Invigilation? Vigilation. Can't remember what they called it. It's a very short part of the book. Basically, the vigilants who work for the emperor go around each town and they test the children in school to see if they have witch sign, and if they do, the kids are taken away. So Steiner at this point, I believe, is somewhere between 18 and 20, so he's finished school, he passed all his vigilations, he's cool. Shelrun, she has another vigilation coming up. So the issue is she's a bit weird. She constantly talks of the old gods and prefers being in the forest by herself than in this village. Hashtag relatable, people suck. So I really liked her character personally. She's quite sassy and witty, and is kind of like, she's just herself, and we love that, and we respect that, and we want that for everyone, okay? Steiner, on the other hand, is like more of the popular guy. He goes to work, he goes to the tavern after work, he drinks, and everyone kind of knows who he is, and you know, so they're a bit opposite, but they care for each other as brother and sister, which is great. So on the day of the vigilation, Steiner takes Shelrun to school, and on that day she's given a brooch which is the shape of the hammer, which apparently was her mum's. So the brooch apparently prevents the detection of witch sign, which we find out after the vigilation because it falls off her jacket into the snow, and the vigilants think that it's Steiner who has witch sign because Shelrun is hiding behind him when they come out of the school. So he then has to be taken away, and that's kind of where the main plot comes into. I will say the first couple of chapters were a bit slow for my liking. I get why they did it, because it gives you more of a background of the family dynamic and the characters themselves, but I personally would have rather they just started straight with it's Vigilation Day and Vigilation Day, whatever it's called, and went from there. But that's just my personal preference. I much prefer being dropped in the middle of action of a scene rather than build up. I think it's like the first 5 chapters, so yeah, just be aware if you're like me. First 5 chapters are a bit dragging, I think, personally, but it's a good foundation, and by the time I got to the end of the book I didn't care anyway. So Steiner then has to go to Vladibogdan. Again, don't know if I'm saying it right, I'm so sorry. Which is an island that the children with witch sign are taken to, in which they are never seen again. So the premise is if you get called out for having witch sign and you get taken away, no one ever sees you again. Sayonara, done deal. So the story then splits. The first few chapters obviously alternate between Shelrun and Steiner, but they're both in Cinderfell, and then obviously Steiner has to go to the island and Shelrun is still in Cinderfell. So the story is split off, which is when it gets more interesting in my opinion. So there is so much that happens. It's quite a, well, I think it's quite a thick book. The story is about 450 pages, so quite a lot happens. So I'm gonna give the cliff notes. So on the island, the boss of the island, Felgenhauer, basically finds out that Steiner hasn't got witch sign. Shock. He does, however, have enchanted boots, which were his mother's apparently, and his father gave to him before he left. So the Empire can't be seen to have made a mistake, so instead they send Steiner down to the furnaces, which is like down in the deepest depths of the island, which is where he meets the Cinder Wraiths and the Spragani and the Yamal Princess. So the Spragani and the Yamal are southern countries, and they rebelled against the Empire basically. So all the Spraganis were taken captive. I think the Spraganis also have not witch sign exactly, but a connection with magic, which is different to what the Northerners have. And the Yamal Princess has been taken hostage. She's also working in the furnaces because she is the Empire's pawn basically, so to make sure that the Yamal people don't rebel, because if Yamal rebel, then they'll kill the princess. Yeah, fun. So Steiner is down in the furnaces. I also need to mention that he's pissed off one of the vigilants by basically trying to fight back and being like, no, you've made a mistake, and he does actually physically fight him, which is just like, this dude has magic and you have a hammer. Ballsy, man, that's ballsy. I don't know what he was thinking. From reading the book in full, I would say Steiner is a bit like, oh, what's the word? He's it's on the tip of my tongue. he just does things. He doesn't speak. He's very, he doesn't speak, he doesn't think before he does things. He just kind of goes with it. He's kind of run by his emotions more than his brain. So yeah, he's made an enemy of one of the vigilants who are on the island with him, which, not a great idea, my dude. So basically, while Steiner's on the island, he is constantly being attacked. He's really annoyed this vigilant, so he wants him dead. So he's constantly being beaten up and attacked and presumed dead. Like, I don't know how this dude survived to the end of the book because he has been beaten, he has been cut up all over, he's been burnt, he's been drowned, he's like been starved. Like, how is he alive? I don't know. But you know, he's the underdog, I guess, so you want him to live, but also as someone who doesn't have magic, you, in a world where there are people with magic, you'd think he'd had died from all of the beatings that he's taken. It's mad. But anyway, other than getting beaten up a lot, Steiner makes friends with the Sprogani and the Emerald Princess, and basically they end up forming a coup to escape. They want to escape. No one's ever escaped before. They want to escape. And do you remember when I said that the Emperor killed all the dragons? Yeah. Turns out he didn't. Turns out he just captured them and they live on the island as well. So there are dragons in the deeper depths of the island who are using their fire breath to light the furnaces and keep the furnaces in the blacksmith area kind of lit. Crazy. So there are dragons, they're just chained up. I'm gonna skip to Shadowrun now because while she's in Cinderfell, basically if you're dubbed to have witch sign or someone in your family has witch sign, then you're basically an outcast. So there are a lot of the townspeople now who, they thought that she was weird anyway, and now they just want their family gone. They think that they're cursed. There is the tavern owner's daughter, Christophine. She was kind of dating Steiner, kind of not, but they spent the night together before he was taken away. So everyone thought that she had caught witch sign as well. I mean, Steiner didn't have it anyway, but I'm not sure that you can catch witch sign anyway. But that just goes to show what it's like in Cinderfell. They're kind of ignorant people. So Shadowrun is ostracised, so is her family. Her father is the blacksmith, but no one wants to buy anything from him because they think that he's got witch sign as well. It's contagious, they're cursed. So Shell spends more time in the forest and she comes across a woodcutter's chalet, which apparently was abandoned. But she goes in because she senses something, looks around, realises that the fire's on and there's a person living there. Oh my god, crazy. I should have mentioned the fact that there are so many twisting plot lines in this. I really do like it. Do you know what? I'll just mention it in a minute. So she then meets a old lady who lives in that cabin, and she's called Mistress Kamalov, I think her name was, and she's also magic. So she then decides to teach Shadowrun about how to use her powers, what her powers are and how to use them, because she's never really been able to use them before. Now they define the magic in the elements, so earth, fire, air, water. They say that fire and air is what derived from dragons because they can fly and they can breathe fire. Earth is easier to kind of obtain and control because it's all around you, but water is the hardest one to control because water is the domain of Freya, and you can't compete with a god, right? So of course Shelrun is special. Of course she is. She was the weird kid that no one liked. Turns out she's super powerful. She doesn't control one but two elements, which is very unusual. So she controls earth, which means that she can like kind of turn her skin to stone so that she can protect herself. She also controls water. Shock. And Mistress Camelot is I was gonna say airbender, but that's the wrong thing. She controls air, which apparently air has a psychic ability to it, so she can kind of read minds as well. Their dynamic I love. I do really love their dynamic. It's their trope of the Master and the Apprentice, which we love, so it is really good. But basically she's training to use her magic, and because prior to the story beginning, sorry, I'm all over the place. Prior to the story beginning, there was a troika, which is 3 vigilants. They're called a troika. They were killed in the next town over, which they tried to do to stop the vigilation, to stop Shelrun from being caught, basically. It turns out it was her uncle who did it, but he let one of them live, Mistress Camelot. So there's I can't remember what they were called, but there's basically these army soldiers who are like immune to magic, kind of, who are in Cinderfell trying to find out what happened to the Troika, trying to find the missing one, the missing vigilant. So of course she's trying to learn magic in secret, not only to hide from the town, but to hide from these soldiers who want to kill everyone with magic, because magic is evil. Basically the conclusion of the story, Steiner breaks out of the island using a dragon. Who would have seen that coming? There's dragons, we'll use one to fly off the island. Because the vigilant that he'd annoyed went to go get his sister, because they found out that it was his sister who had witch sign and not him. So he flew the dragon, attacked them, big old fight scene, and he won. And Shelrun and Mistress Camelot had their own fight scene with the soldiers who were at Cinderfell. Loads of chaos. But basically they end up breaking the Sprigani and the Emerald Princess out of Vladimogden, as well as some vigilants who didn't want to be there, and some of the apprentice novices, whatever they were called, there, because obviously none of them are there by free will, because the Empire sucks. And it ends the book where they can't go back to Cinderfell because they've just killed a vigilant there. So the Empire is going to be going there. So they're sailing off towards the south, and then we're looking to the second book. I really love this book. There's dragons, there's magic, there's an evil empire, and that is basically my sweet spot. So I would definitely recommend Witch Sign. I will let you know about the second book, if it's just as good. Once I read it, I can't read series one after the other personally, because obviously the beginning of the second book is mainly a recap of the first book, and I'm like, well, I just read it. So I'm reading something else at the minute, but I will let you know. Otherwise, guys, I'm gonna be done now because I feel like this has gone on too long and I've rambled a bit. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button down below and tap on the bell if you want to be notified when I post. I am trying to keep posting every Monday, and I need to learn to batch film. Not that it matters to you guys, but I'm trying. So if you want to know more, hit the notification bell down below. As always, my socials are in the description if you want to check it out. My website is there as well. I have got that updated with my writing progress and everything if you want to have a look at that. Otherwise, see you next time. Bye.